Welcome to the craft room. I'm excited for today's video. It's gonna be a little bit more cash. We're chatting about knitting. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen me talk a lot about Hobby Summer. I've been loving Hobby Summer. Two of the things that I added to my list that felt like very big, kind of intimidating hobbies to learn were crochet and knitting. Now, one of my dearest friends crochets. She's taught me how, and I just have never stuck with it, never loved it. So I decided I was gonna get this book. Sid Graham suggested it, Hot Girl Crochet. I decided I was going to do it. So I got this, and over my birthday weekend, I thought, I am finally gonna learn. No, she did not learn. Still don't like crochet. So this book is going to be given to my cute 11-year-old sister because she has been loving how to crochet. So I'm taking her to my friend's house to learn how to crochet and then giving her this book. Honestly, a lot of people, when I posted about this on my Instagram, asked if it was worth the investment. I think this book was under $15 and there are 15 patterns in here. Normally when you buy a pattern, it is anywhere from $5 to $15 for just one pattern. So I really do think books like this are a great investment, especially when you're first starting off, so you don't have to spend a ton of money on patterns that you don't know if you're gonna love or not. So after that, I decided to pick up the knitting book because I thought maybe knitting will be better. And I was right, okay? I have loved this. This book is called You Will Be Able to Knit by the end of this book. I have loved it. It was a really great jumping off point because I think a lot of times with knitting especially, it's more than just looking up a tutorial to do it online. This really laid out the structure of the things that you need to know to be able to start knitting, and then I was able to look up a YouTube video if I couldn't understand the pictures all the way, because some things you kind of do just need a working visual, but this has been so much better than learning how to crochet. I am not telling you not to learn how to crochet. My brain doesn't like it, okay? So I've been following along this book, and I made a first project to kind of give myself a rough gauge of where I was at, how I was doing. So this is, I did not make the full project. It's supposed to be a reusable face cloth, and it was from this book, and it helps me get a feel for tension, and also I learned how to knit stitch and how to purl stitch. So I felt like those were two really great foundations I needed to learn, and I could see a change in my tension. Overall, I felt like it looked pretty good, and then I was humbled. So for my second project, I did make a pair of baby booties for my new cousin who was just born, and those turned out so well. I do know that the more I practice, the better I'm gonna get at them, but I was overall really happy with this project. So I haven't really been paying attention to yarn size because that was still something I didn't all the way understand, because with crochet that is really easy. So it's going to tell you on the back of the packaging what size hook you need. With knitting it's a little bit different because oftentimes it'll give you a suggested one, but then you have to go to make a swatch to make sure it's the right size. So I had just been buying this beginner yarn. You can get some of it from like Lion Brand, but it's really like you cannot get it to fray because of the way it's constructed. So if you ever do like a Woobles kit, this is the kind of yarn that comes with that. And I was just having a really hard time with fraying because I bought this yarn that was really fuzzy and fluffy, and I just kept sticking my needles into the middle of it instead of the outside, and I was just having a really hard time. So I decided to keep working with this beginner yarn, which apparently wasn't a good idea because I started to make a Sophie scarf and it was turning out really big. But I was like, okay, I'll just make my first one. It's gonna be whatever. I felt like my tension was really good, so I went into a shop because my cute friend who lives in Texas, I texted her to ask her kind of what I should be looking for, if I'm doing a good job, how do I get my yarn to not fray, and so she sent me a gift card to her favorite yarn store. She just said she wouldn't be able to help me as much as someone in person, so thank you, Jamie, I love you. And so I went in, it's called Handwork, it's in Salt Lake City. I was amazed. Immediately I walk in, they ask if I need help, they take me around, they look at, I had brought my project I was working on, they gave me great feedback. I was knitting way too tight because I was used to crochet. I just feel like the tension in crochet, it's so much harder to get. I think that's why I don't like crocheting. So I was knitting so tight. She genuinely asked me if I was having any fun at all because it was so tight. It was so hard to work. And I said, you know, my hands do hurt so bad. So anyway, I was using the wrong size needle and the wrong size yarn. So my friend suggested I maybe have them help me find the type of yarn I like and get a really big gauge, but she suggested just getting me the right needle and the right type of yarn. Make it so much easier. I can proudly show you my lovely Sophie scarf that is almost halfway done. It was about halfway done this morning, but I'd messed up a couple places. So I did decide to frog a couple of rows, which means to undo them. And honestly, I only get drop stitches when I frog. So if you have any helpful tips for frogging, let me know, because I really hate it. And I was honestly just gonna start over because I didn't want to frog, but I do have like a couple drop stitches, but overall it's not terrible. There is like the increased edge. She looks a little funky, but that's okay. And I don't know what happened here. Don't know. But that's okay, because this is my first like actual project that I'm really like pouring a lot of time into. So I will say yesterday it was probably like this big and I frogged a lot because I was dropping stitches for no reason. I really couldn't tell you why I was dropping stitches. And then in trying to fix drop stitches, I was picking up way more stitches than I needed to. And so anyway, I just needed to undo it. And thankfully I was able to frog it and not have a lot of drop stitches, because really every time I frog, I drop stitches. So it's looking really good. I'm having really a lot of fun. And I think the difference for me with knitting versus sewing is, with sewing for me, it is mostly about the outcome. I am sewing to make myself clothes. With knitting, I am knitting to knit. I really don't care what I make. Maybe that's because I'm not very good yet, but I'm excited to wear my Sophie scarf. But honestly, I'm just having so much fun. And I really love having a hobby that can come with me, can go in my purse, and I can just pull it out whenever. So I'm loving this. Honestly, I've seen mixed reviews if this is a good beginner project or not. I've really been loving it because you do mostly knit stitches, and then you do this thing where you like pull the yarn a certain way. I can't remember what it's called. I'm still learning the abbreviations and the terms for things, but you pull the yarn and then you just put the last 3 onto the other needle without doing anything to them. And apparently that's hard, but I haven't had a hard time. I don't know. She said my I-cord edge on my other one looked really good. Looked way better than this one. She said that's apparently hard to do, and now that I'm doing this, I get why it's hard. Don't know why it's hard. It should be easy. But I like that you learn increases and decreases. I think I'm really intimidated by some like sweater patterns, because that is what I want to do. I want to make a sweater so bad, but there are so many techniques that I don't know that I would have to learn going into this. So I'm just trying to find projects where I can introduce one new technique at a time. That way it's way less overwhelming for me. And with this, you're doing the increases every 8th row, which had to get a stitch counter. I love this thing. I don't know how people knit without a stitch counter, I'm gonna be honest with you, or a row counter, I guess, but it's amazing. So you basically increase every 8th row till you get to a certain point, and then you decrease every 8th row. And I feel like because it's not super complicated, it's just been really easy for me to follow. And you know, there have been times where I realized I didn't increase, so I add an extra row, and it's no problem at all. And I did put a little pin to make sure that I was increasing and decreasing on the same space, because I did not do that with the other one, but I literally couldn't tell if I was doing it right. So overall, this has been a really fun first actual project. I'm loving it. There are a couple things in this book that I think I am going to make once I'm done with this. There's specifically a blanket in there that I think looks really lovely. I also recently discovered something called Tin Can Knits. They have their own app, but there is this database, which, why don't we have something like this for sewing? But it's basically a place where people sell their knitting patterns or have free downloads. It's called Ravelry. So they have tons. Tin Can Knits has tons of free patterns where you can learn simple basics. So I think the next project I'm going to work on is a pair of socks that I downloaded from them. I did also buy one of Petite Knit, who is the one that created the Sophie scarf. I bought one of her other patterns for a cardigan. I know it's way too hard. I'm way off. So I am trying to really pace myself and not buy patterns before I know I can make them, because with sewing patterns, it just seems a lot easier to learn a new technique. I buy sewing patterns left and right. I don't feel intimidated, but with this I do. So I'm pacing myself. I'm trying not to buy a lot of yarn if I'm not working on a project. So I did buy some yarn, but honestly, I think for my next project, I probably will go back into handwork, show them the pattern, ask them to help me pick it out, because I just am still learning how to pick out the right needle and the right yarn. So great resource if you're in Utah. They are fantastic. I really loved working with them. Ravelry is really great because you can add things to favorites. So I have been adding things that I see that I want to make to my favorites so that I know I can come back. I'm not going to lose them. My Instagram has been getting to know that I am loving knitting, so I'm just seeing a ton of people with what sweaters they're making. So I did get a couple suggestions from there of beginner sweaters, but I know it's going to take me a while before I get there. I am impressed with people that jump right into sweaters. I don't know if I want to spend that much effort on something I don't know if it's going to work out. So, loving my Sophie scarf project. Think I'm going to do socks next. I might do gloves after that. I don't know, but I am having so much fun, truly. And I don't know if you listen to the Mel Robbins podcast. I love her podcast. And she did an episode last September, which it's September now, and I still listen to it even a year later. But she talks about how September is the perfect time to set new goals and jump off because you have 4 months until the end of the year, and 4 months is usually the amount of time that people stick to goals. So she suggests doing something in September to set yourself up for the new year. That for me is learning how to knit, so that through the cozy season I know how to knit. By the time the seasonal depression hits in January, I will have a fun hobby that keeps me entertained. And honestly, a lot of people say this is an expensive hobby, which it is, but I saw this girl on Instagram calculate her fun per hour, or her fun cost. So she looks at how long it takes her to do a project, how much the materials cost, and then she divides it, and she's like, it cost me $2.30 per hour to have fun. So I think if you look at it that way, it's a lot less intimidating, and really to get natural fiber clothing is expensive, and to have something that fits you well, that you custom made, I just feel like it is worth the money, especially where I've been sewing for over a year now. I just am not feeling super intimidated by the cost of a new hobby. But I am for sure only buying new yarn when I know I'm making something, because it can get expensive if I'm buying for no reason, where with fabric I feel like I can buy and not know what I'm making. But I'm really loving it. So if you're looking for a new hobby, I encourage you to start knitting, because I am having the time of my life. So I will see you later. Thanks for joining.